Hi, everybody. Today we're going to be going over common themes in books and how to identify them and kind of the different types of themes that you usually see when reading any of the texts that you're going to be given later on in life. So here we go. Okay, so here we're just looking at a couple of different kind of common themes that you'll see throughout texts in your life. So yeah, first we have the idea of judgment. So this is kind of just, I don't know, you could say like a court themed, I guess, kind of book or anything where kind of someone's deemed fit for something or deemed unfit to be in a society or something like that. Next, we have survival. Survival is just kind of a common survival book. Just think of like a Bear Grylls episode. Someone goes out in the woods, they get lost, and they have to kind of find their way back to society. Peace and war. That's usually a lot of war books out there. Pretty self-explanatory. Someone goes out to war, and either they find peace or they die, and we'll talk about that. Love's another big topic in most literary texts. That's simply just two people coming together. It's romantical, like Romeo Juliet kind of love type stuff. Heroism. It's a common theme in books. That's just like the main protagonist goes out and he's able to save everybody, and classic hero type story. Good and evil is classic. See that in a bunch of different texts. That's just comparing, a good side, like the I don't know, the good side of a society versus the bad side, and the bad side's doing corrupt things, and the good side's trying to prevent it. Circle of life. That's simply just characters are growing and then aging and then finally dying at the end, but they have the whole kind of full circle, and all it usually has this like ring composition where it will all go like kind of you'll be able to relate the end of the story to the beginning of the story kind of. Suffering's a common theme in books. That's just simply self-explanatory. Usually, the main protagonist or someone else is going through some tough times or something, and the story kind of revolves around that. Deception. That's in a lot of books. It's the main kind of like evil organization tries to deceive the main protagonist or someone. And then coming of age is a lot of texts that you guys will be reading, which is just, an average kid growing up and kind of learning how to be a part of society and kind of doing their own thing. Okay, so here I have some more common themes that you'll see in books, and with this, it has more kind of a definition. So we have acceptance, courage, perseverance, cooperation, compassion, honesty, kindness, and loyalty. And so, yeah, each of these is kind of a very common theme that you'll see in the majority of books that you're going to read. So, acceptance, these books have characters who respect and accept others. Courage, they have the brave protagonist. Perseverance, they have the main character that won't give up. Cooperation, everyone will work together. Compassion, someone showing empathy towards another throughout the book. Honesty, someone who finds the best route throughout the whole entire story is to tell the truth. And then kindness is just being kind to the other characters. And then loyalty, is trusting. So these are the common themes that you'll see in the books. And I'm going to go over now how to actually like identify and figure out which theme to kind of choose when deciding a theme of a book. Okay, so here we have a more concrete explanation for the definition of a theme. So theme is the message from the author. And so themes can be in kind of a multitude of different things, such as literature, art, and movies. And a fable is an example of a story. And kind of the theme for a fable is it's always kind of like a moral of the story. And so, yeah, the main thing about a theme and piece of literature is that it is the message about life and how people behave. So if we look back at those common themes, you can see that the majority of them are how people actually behave throughout the story. All right, so now let's go over finding a theme. So the main thing about finding a theme is you should ask yourself kind of questions. So the first one would be like, what is the topic and what is the big idea related to the topic? So you would look at those and you'd read through your text and you'd kind of get a general understanding of it. And then you would go, so like, why did the author even write this and why am I reading it? That's kind of the main kind of takeaway from that. The next question you should ask yourself is, what do the characters say or do that relates to this topic? So how is the main protagonist of the story engaging in kind of one of those common themes that you already know? And then what do these things tell you that are important to learn about life? So what is the main kind of takeaway about living in the like a current kind of understanding? Okay, and here we have some more questions to ask, more specifically focusing on the character in the story. So if you're trying to kind of determine how the theme relates to the character and kind of the main theme overall, these are good questions to ask. So the first one will be, how does the character change? So how have they changed as a person, physically or mentally throughout the story? What made him or change? So what's the catalyst for causing them to kind of make that change in themselves? What lessons do they learn? So how did the character kind of come to understand a new topic and engage in it differently? What are the character's feelings about what happens in the story? So how does a character kind of emotionally kind of speak or think about kind of certain actions that other people are taking in the story? What conflicts do the characters engage in, and what happens as a result? So what is the character kind of willing to fight for, if you could say? And that's kind of a good question to ask if you're trying to figure out how the character and the theme relate to each other. Okay, so here we have an example text, and so what I want you guys to do is to pause the video here and then read over this text, and then we're going to go over what the theme is and kind of how we determine that. So, all right, go ahead and pause it now. Okay, now that you guys paused that and read that little excerpt from Charlotte's Web, you should now know that the main theme of that was friendship. So yeah, or yeah. So the questions that guided us to kind of get the central idea is, how did the friendship begin? Do the characters grow closer or drift apart? What prompt these changes? How does the friendship end? And so, do the characters forget about each other afterwards, or do they keep the same kind of connection? So we learned that the friendships are not all about first impressions. We learned that sometimes friendships require sacrifice, and then we learned that friendship is one of the most satisfying things in the world, according to this text. So that's kind of like an easy example of how you would kind of find a theme in a simple story like that. All right, guys. So that's what I got for you on learning and kind of understanding themes. So whenever you read a text, you'll kind of see that I think pretty much every single piece of text out there has some kind of theme that they're trying to relate. So whenever you read something, just try to find that theme, and it'll help practice you with this kind of idea.